Hey, warm welcome to you, Jyoti, and to the Wipro team at the Ecosystem Business Summit. And thank you for staying up late and joining at the start. We really appreciate it.
Messed up.
It's my pleasure, Amit. I have been following this webinar series and learned so much from the experience of the leaders who spoke. So it's a wonderful platform. I think thanks for setting it up.
Yeah, and a quick introduction. Jyoti is Vice President and Global Head for Partner Programs and Strategic Alliances at Wipro. With a 27-year tenure at Wipro, she now leads the strategic partnerships at Wipro, all of it. Over the last 5 years, Jyoti has focused on creating ecosystem function, a function with best practices where they are driving growth in business, creating joint solutions, and differentiating in the market with those business processes. And you've launched a number of tremendous GTM programs so that you can really drive the growth engine for Wipro. We'll get into how is the ecosystem team a growth engine for Wipro conversation a little bit later. But first, congratulations on crossing $10 billion in revenue. That's a huge milestone. Can you talk a little bit about that? What does it feel from an insight perspective to be a decacorn, not from a valuation, but from a revenue delivery perspective? That's just simply awesome.
First of all, thank you for mentioning that. And you're right, it's a very, very important milestone for us. And we're really excited because of that. Actually, what's behind this is, if you see, we added $2 billion of revenue in the last 18 months and nearly $3 billion of net new TCV just from large deals alone. And, all this is a part of the transformation that our CEO has been doing. We've simplified the organization and we're pivoting ourselves to become more go-to-market and more market-facing. As you would have heard, we've set up a chief growth office and we're elevating the role of ecosystems, which is now going to be a part of the growth office. And we're making huge investments, bringing in senior leadership to handle some of our key partners. We are focused on becoming a trusted advisor to our customers. And the best thing is market and customers and partners have responded really positively to this.
Awesome. And we'll get into Wipro and the partnering strategy in a bit. But first, let's get to know you a little bit as a person. As I was doing some prep, I was really awesome to hear that you're a martial arts enthusiast, you're a certified driver, you do adventure sports and have scaled the base camp at Everest, and a prolific reader. But those things have kind of set you up to kind of have a business career. Could you talk a little bit about how your personal journey was to where you are at in the current role as a leader of Wipro ecosystem?
Sure. So, thank you for all that. Actually, those interests really help recharge your battery, and, so you come back fully focused on the business side of it. Last 20 years, I've been in Wipro for 27 years, but out of that, 20 plus years have been on the business side. I've been doing market-facing roles. I come from a hardcore sales management background. I have done practice building. I've even managed P&Ls, and I have handled large deals. So, and all of these are basically, you can see it's a multifaceted background, and I've built large teams across multiple continents, North America, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. A big part of the career was in actually building new businesses from grounds up. By driving go-to-market execution programs and also learning how to leverage the larger organization across Wipro and bringing those capabilities to customer. I think over the years, built an ability to really work across organization, both internally as well as with partners to deliver business growth. So when Wipro wanted to set up a partner ecosystem and they wanted to make it as an engine of growth, right? So they wanted a leader who would create an ecosystem and not just standalone partnerships. I guess I was chosen because of the business background and also the cross-functional experience and the habit of being number oriented and delivering business growth. So that's really been the journey. I think over the last 6 years, today we have a large ecosystem, more than 75 plus listed and governed partners. We've grown from, I would say, roughly around 500 million kind of size to nearly $4 billion of partnership business, which contributes to nearly more than 1/3 of our overall business for the company today. So an ecosystem function is not just about the business number, but it's also helping provide inputs and to our organization strategy, vision, and execution. So really, it's a big enriching function. And I'm simply delighted with the whole journey that I have had, and more importantly, the company has had.
Yeah,
I just thought I should mention here, sorry, since Jose was speaking earlier, it reminded me of my time in 2010 when I was asked to set up a global, I was actually asked to take the partnership globally, the Cisco partnership globally. It is the first truly 360-degree partnership that we had. After that, subsequently, we built many more such partnerships, but it was a fantastic learning experience. And, it was very, very exciting. So,
yeah.
so I must really
Yeah, and
thank
drawing, yeah, what a great, power panel here with both women in technology leaders, but also you guys have excelled, both of you, in fact, in multiple geographies and multiple functions within your company. And you founded, for example, you founded the Microsoft partnership within Wipro, and then you talked about the 360 at Cisco, but before that also P&L functions across the company. So congratulations, such a well-rounded experience. And I think as leaders are coming through the ranks and companies like Wipro are setting ecosystems as a growth strategy, I think certainly one advice for all of us could be to look at those business experiences as you get into this ecosystem role.
Absolutely, you're right on that.
So pivoting a little bit now, getting to the meat of it, tell us about what Wipro is doing as part of this ecosystem strategy, and how is your role and the role of your function pivotal to that?
Okay, let me set the context first. Partnerships were always important in Wipro, right? But more than 6 years ago, we actually saw the market trend and made the distinction between standalone partnerships and an ecosystem. So I was chartered to set up an ecosystem under the executive leadership. The idea was to drive business growth by leveraging our partners better. So we took an approach that was very unique to our DNA. We created a completely matrix function. I think this is the largest matrix function in our company, or maybe many companies put together, which was a matrix function with joint business responsibility for our partnerships, along with the business units and the practices that we had. And the overall strategy, governance, and go-to-market program responsibility continue to be with the ecosystem. So that's really the what we attempted to do. One of the first things we had to do was create a new identity for our partner ecosystem. Moving from a soft function, alliances was always sometimes seen as a soft function, to a very hard metrics-oriented business function where measuring ourselves on new pipeline created, or the order books that we have done, and also creating a very rigorous mechanism of governing our partnerships, because we have a huge partner ecosystem, and with different maturity. So it was important to set a very rigorous mechanism of governance. And then basically, we took a portfolio approach. We did a tiering of our partnerships. And as I told you today, we have 75 plus partners, which are actively governed, with more than 150 plus more partners, which we continue to engage with and which are in our watch list. And the business has grown. It is contributing significantly to the organization, which primarily has led to the ecosystem function being elevated in the new transformation of our company.
Absolutely, and I see that every day engaging with Wipro as well. So kudos on that transformation, not being like a one-on-one partnership, but managing it as an entire ecosystem with governance and metrics. And couple this, now that you have this organization set up, what are some key initiatives that you're driving at Wipro?
Well, that's a very good question, and I will first say that one big change that we brought in our function was to become programmatic, right? Because it's easy to run things as a business as usual, etc., but that wasn't going to work for the partnership function. So one was becoming programmatic, and the philosophy that we applied was, if it is worth doing, then it is worth doing programmatically. In a large ecosystem, in a large company with multiple practices, with multiple geographies that we address, with multiple industry verticals that we work in, and working with the partners, it is not going to be easy to orchestrate our efforts well. And hence, becoming programmatic is very critical. All our programs are governed on orchestrating the efforts of our team and the partnership team together into the market. Broadly, the initiatives are in 3 areas. One is, the first and foremost is, how do we build business and grow the business by joint go-to-market initiatives with the partner, right? So basically taking our joint solutions, our joint IP to the customers and growing our book of business. The second one is co-creating the solution itself, the co-creation, the co-innovation, and the value proposition that we create with partners. That also we want to do programmatically, because otherwise you can get lost in so many partners with so much of technology. So you have to be very, very focused in terms of how you want to build solutions. And the last most important thing is, how do we build an organization of tomorrow, right? The organization of the future, a Gen Next organization, so to speak, which will essentially, again, the objective is to help customers adopt technology faster, right? So by leveraging partners, how do we build this organization which can roll out and make successful programs for customers around, all the new technologies, whether it is cloud, IoT, analytics, 5G, and so on. So that's really the initiatives that we are running. And ultimately, you can run any number of initiatives, but how do you know whether that's working, right? So for us, it's a very simple measure, the customer adoption. And the way we look at customer, so some examples I can take here is, one is Synergy Bank. It's a banking example where they wanted to set up a human digital bank. So we completely built a cloud native digital bank in a box of the bank of the future, working with an ecosystem of 20 plus partners, both from the fintech space and Google Cloud, Google Analytics, and Microsoft Dynamics, and a whole host of other technology partners, integrated with our open banking initiative platform to create this kind of a solution. So this is an example of an ecosystem initiative success, because we designed the solution together, we rolled it out, and it's a successful outcome. Another example, my favorite example, is Toronto airports, right? And we worked with 20 plus partners again over a period of time, and we ran several digital transformation programs to help digitize airport operations. And not only that, but from the business side, we helped enhance the passenger experience and also help create new revenue streams for the airport. And the best way to say this result is that they have been ranked #1 airport in North America for 4 consecutive years. So this is really the nature of initiatives that we are focusing on.
I can see now the inside working here. We all see the 10 billion revenue outcome, but behind it is a growth engine. The growth engine is ecosystem and programmatic. And then there are key initiatives that are driving these large deals, because you're orchestrating larger and larger sets of partners, not individual partnerships at a time. You're able to take 20 or so and drive a complete transformation for a bank or an airport. Wow. I get it. and this is serving not just a bank or a airport. This is also giving you, from an SI perspective, right, an inside view of all the trends that are happening. So if you look at all your customer engagements, what has this transformation allowed you to? Which trends has it allowed you to serve in a better way? You can talk to that.
Yeah, I think that's a very a good question. There are many trends if you start thinking about it, but maybe I will talk about four broad trends, right? The first one is the cloud adoption trend, which everybody knows about, but we see more sharply the fact that 50% of the customers are going to adopt multi-cloud intentionally. So that's the first trend. The second one we are seeing is the industry verticalization of everything, right? Whether it is a single partner technology or whether it is a whole host of life cycle services, customers are looking for specific business solutions that you can offer them. The third trend that we are looking at is, obviously everybody is talking about how do you, in this digital transformation world, the most important thing is how do you enhance customer experience or employee experience, basically user experience, using technology. So we see that AI, ML, and extended reality, AR, VR are big technologies which are playing a role in this space. And the last one is, we are seeing a partner companies buying other companies, whether it is to complement their own capabilities, whether it is to go into adjacent spaces, or it is to build a vertical stack, etc. So it's basically, there's a big trend happening on that. For example, Salesforce bought over MuleSoft and Tableau and Slack. So on one hand, we see our partner ecosystem is growing, but at the same time, we see a consolidation within the ecosystem itself. And every time a partner does this, it actually sends a ripple of changes for an SI like us. But it opens up fantastic new opportunities. The challenge in that is that you have to be on your toes. You have to be agile as an organization to take advantage of these kind of openings, so to speak. And this is where, again, an ecosystem functions plays a big role, because we can lead the change of such changes in the market for the larger organization.
Fantastic. That was a great insight. And I want to come back to this theme of being data driven. And it's fantastic to see ecosystem leaders kind of stand up to their boards and deliver numbers in a hard way. So I wanted to double click on that, the role of partner ecosystem in actually delivering revenue with these things. Can you speak about the results a little bit more beyond the headline, and what did it take to kind of drive that transformation?
Okay, yeah. So that's the whole meat of all the last 5 years. So yes. So like I said, from a numbers perspective, it's contributing more than a third of the business for the company. I see this number sharply accelerate. Over the next period of time, it's going to grow in not only volume but also in value. How it is, like I told you right in the beginning, that it was creating a new identity for alliances, right? And with a team of 100+ people, where we were already managing partnerships on a standalone basis, it was not easy to bring in the change in thinking, change in behavior, right? So it was a series of initiatives that we had to run internally to bring that change in identity, right? And whether it was in terms of the incentives for the alliance teams, how they were getting measured earlier versus how we are going to incentivize them now. And so we actually launched programs on hard incentives for growing net new pipeline. And so first we had to put in place a mechanism to measure net new pipeline, right? And to continuously measure it quarter on quarter, and have, it is a fiduciary, it has to be a fiduciary relevant system then. So there was a full journey we went across in that. And actually in that context, I can tell you that, that's how we got talking about ecosystem software and why it became critical, because to manage this kind of programs, whether it is solution building or whether it's changing the DNA of your own company, you need solid systems, right? And so trying to use existing systems was simply not easy and possible. So that's when we started our engagement. But coming back to your question, right, what do ecosystems really contribute beyond the number? I would say that people need to recognize that a part ecosystem is a strategic growth arm today for an SI, right? They're an innovation arm. They are a solution building arm. They are a competency building arm, capability building arm, right? And partners can help you stay ahead and catch the technology early, right? So you can stay on the bleeding edge, and which has helped us be a first in many areas in the market. So we were, I believe, one of the first to get into software-defined storage, software-defined networks, identity and access management as a service offering. There are many things that we were able to do, and many thanks to our partners. And like I said, partner, the ecosystem actually becomes a very good feedback mechanism to creating and transforming your organization vision. And one thing I really like to say is that partners enable innovation at the intersections, right? So there is the customer, there are the technology, there is the domain, and all of that comes together at the ecosystem to deliver something completely transformational to the customer. And in today's changing, models, the way the customer buying behavior is changing so fast, the market models are changing so fast that, in my view, a partner is as important as a customer, right? And therefore, that's one of the reasons we are investing the way we invest in sales or go-to-market motions. We are investing in our ecosystem today with senior leaders coming in. And, so it's going to be very exciting times. I think our partners can expect a whole lot more from us going forward.
Wow, that's such an insightful thing to say, Jyoti. And I, looking from a WorkSpan vantage point as well, you run multiple partnerships on it. So, and you use a very interesting phrase that caught my attention: innovation at the intersection. So, as the COVID wave happened, we saw Wipro actually take the virtual desktop home, working with Citrix on one hand, but also HPE and a number of other partners,
Microsoft,
and Cisco WebEx and others. And I think this value of intersection is so key. And now not only you are showing the ecosystem as a revenue engine, but also what captivated my attention was it's the innovation engine, building new solutions at these intersections. So why don't we double click a little bit on that? How is Wipro innovating? And can you give some report card on that in terms of Wipro Innovation Index or Wipro innovation with the ecosystem?
Sure, sure. So, I think first of all, I'd like to say that this is one area where most of our partners really appreciate the work that we have done, right? I think consistently and at every level, every practice, every sub-practice level, at a business unit level, Wipro, I have seen over the last 27 years, is extremely focused on doing something that extra value add, right? Doing something that is extra innovative. But in a large organization, that can also be all over the place as well, right? So there can be too many popcorn shops, as you say, right? So that won't work either. So I think driving innovation, we want to be focused on, first of all, we want to co-innovate with a partner. Second, we want to focus on a business business solution based innovation. Third, we want to make it, we want to focus on our areas of priority, which we have called out as part of our strategy, whether it is in cloud or cybersecurity or data and analytics and engineering services, which is a big focus for us. So we want to innovate in these areas. And lastly, we want to look at a full stack offering. It's an end-to-end value chain, which we can take to customer, preferably with a whole consortium of partners, right? So that's really the way we are innovating. But this kind of an approach requires an investment from both sides, the partner as well as Wipro. So besides the actual solution building investments that we make and we partners make, we have also invested and built huge innovation centers, center of excellences and labs with partners, dedicated to partners. Sometimes it's common labs where we do multi-partner innovation and so on. And easily more than 50 million kind of investments we make in just these kind of centers. So that's really what we are doing in terms of innovation. But if I were to make it more contextual and relevant, I think your question is in terms of where are we doing the innovation, right? And there's a lot of innovation we are doing in all the areas of focus, but maybe I'll classify it broadly into three areas, right? One is the industry solution on cloud. This is biggest focus, whether it is our industry vertical sectors or whether it is our practices, all of them are coming together to combine the industry specific domain solutions and cloud transformation together, and so that we can offer that innovation to customers. The second one is the digital transformation, enhancing experience, transforming the business process, and so on. And lastly, we're also looking at innovating on top of the partner IP. So, the industry on cloud, that Synergy Bank example is a great one to explain that kind of work. When I talk about digital transformation, one of our customers, Kellogg's, who's a large food manufacturer, we all know the company. They are a global company. They face geopolitical and economic changes all the time, which impacts their business strategy. So they were looking at an ability to respond faster to these kind of changes, right? And with the pandemic coming in, it becomes even more relevant. Everyone sees it, but they started this journey much earlier. And so their legacy systems were simply not able to keep pace with their expectations. So we worked with SAP and AWS to create a completely digital platform, very flexible and very quick to respond. So today they're really happy with this. In addition to the business changes, that they're able to respond to a whole host of other benefits, whether it is cost reduction, whether it is performance improvement, or even reduction of provisioning time. But those are all the changes. But really, that's the kind of innovation we are doing in terms of digital transformation. And IP on customers, a favorite example of mine. And this is the multi-domain orchestrator, or a solution IP we built on top of Cisco. And this is on their DNA technology, their digital network architecture, where this solution basically becomes a single pane of glass for them to roll out software-defined networks and hybrid cloud for enterprise customers. But the beauty of this is it goes beyond a single network domain. So therefore, it works across an enterprise, and both organizations realize that this is actually accelerating the adoption of the DNA technology. So that's the kind of innovation, and there's a whole host more. I can go on talking about it, Amit, if you will give me the time.
Yeah, no, this is very inspiring as well. We were talking with Harmeet earlier, who's a sponsor for WorkSpan inside of Wipro. He leads the co-engineering effort, and his team using WorkSpan co-solutioning efforts with companies like, chip companies like, Micron and others, and also with Cisco. We are very fascinated with that, because then ecosystems can become not only the revenue engine, can become the innovation engine, which is the predictor of revenue in the next 3 years, the next 5 years, and keeps you relevant.
So, I want to, that's a very important thing you said, because I have been thinking about it. And, my view is this, that we saw the ERP wave, we saw the CRM wave. We are clearly going to be in the ecosystem software wave. And somebody, Jay, I think McBain had said earlier that this is the decade of ecosystem. So, and my view is that the ecosystem software and the platforms that are being built, they're going to evolve over time, right? And it's not just all companies in all industries, all businesses are going to have to figure out how they're going to work with an ecosystem. Increasingly, it's going to be the ecosystem driven world, irrespective of your industry. And therefore, you need to figure out what platforms, how you're going to work with the ecosystems, and a mechanism of adopting and rolling out this technology. It's not easy to rip and replace something or add something to the organization. So it's something that all companies will have to figure out. And I think, I'm sure WorkSpan is going to be a part of that whole evolution journey, including for Wipro as well as we evolve. And I think our 360-degree partnership is again proving its mettle, right? I think that makes the whole thing more smoother. It makes us stickier, work together better.
Fantastic. And thank you for that 360 partnership. It's a build, sell, also as a customer, but also as a partner and co-innovator with you as we think through the ecosystem transformations happening around us. Wonderful. And I think it's timely as well, right? If you look at COVID, it has accelerated. We can't meet face to face. We were partnership organizations were anyway global and had to be global and local at the same time. So we needed a tool like this or a digitized platform like that. So can you speak to the timely relevance of this, or did you see this continuously happening, this need for partnering digitization?
So, you're right. COVID did, exacerbate the pains for people. But for us, we felt the need even before COVID, right? Much before COVID, we actually started realizing that with the large ecosystem and the size of our organization and trying to orchestrate efforts between our teams and the partner teams, we are simply not going to be able to do it by bending the existing CRM systems. So we were actually, I think, I'm happy to say that we were one of the early adopters as an SI of an ecosystem software. And being a services company, it was not easy for us to build a business case. But I think, taking a phased approach, rolling it out to some of the top partners and then slowly rolling it over a period of time to the rest of the ecosystem has been a good approach. And we are really looking forward to the benefits. And I'm personally vested in the success of this project as well.
Yeah. And I think you use the phrase like, instead of bending CRM to meet the partner organization's need, integrate to the CRM system and create a first party system where, ecosystem leaders finally have a system to call their own, connected, where they can report revenue, they can report co-innovation, they can actually show the hard numbers. And I think your organization has led that transformation internally and with the larger ecosystem. So we're very, very thankful for that shared journey, Jyoti.
No, so, one important thing in what you said is that people think collaboration software or an ecosystem software is collaboration for a couple of deals or a few transactions, right? Mm-hmm. It is not at a transaction level. Ultimately, an ecosystem or a partner manager is managing a business plan, right? They are managing a partner business plan. They need to make it successful. It goes beyond transactions. It goes into performance management. It goes into co-creating, co-investing, tracking progress or programs. So it's at a complete business view level. And that's where I think, ecosystem softwares like WorkSpan, etc., are going to be very critical to the success of ecosystems.
Fantastic. I have one last question before we open it up to the audience here. What advice would you have for people who want to lead partner organizations?
Okay, so first, I think from my own experience, I can speak, and from what I have seen, I think two things you would need. One is business acumen and stewardship, right? Business acumen is, because you're leading a business plan, right? For the partnership, you are a business owner, which means that you need to understand all aspects of business. So having a good grounding in sales, or whether it is practice management or product management, or even the technical side of it, will go a long way and is a great background to have in becoming a successful partnership leader or an ecosystem leader. The second one is stewardship. Stewardship is extremely critical, I think, in ecosystems, more specifically in ecosystem than in any other role, because here your job itself is to connect the dots. You are connecting different parts of the organization. You are like a glue, right? Bringing a technology and a partnership across multiple practices, multiple units, multiple markets. So really, the job you need to bring your stakeholders together. You need to orchestrate the efforts of multiple stakeholders in your organization and in the partner organization to achieve a business result. So your value comes more and more in terms of being able to orchestrate these massive efforts, as against focusing on some deal transaction or a deal pursuit. You could do that, but you have a higher impact to create in this. And I always tell my team that, being an alliance person, you have to be a super salesperson. You have to work harder than a salesperson who's managing one or many customers, but here you have to sell to your internal stakeholders, you have to sell to partner, you have to sell to market, you have to sell to customer. You have to really be super at your selling ability. And historically, we had, we wouldn't see too many good salespeople moving into an alliance role because it was considered a soft function. But now with things have changed. It's become a very revenue-driven, number-driven, outcome-driven function. And so people have seen the quantum jump you can achieve in business because of ecosystems. So I would say basically these two characteristics.
What a great advice. And I especially like your point around stewardship and being the super salesman. And it kind of also symbolizes, as you grow into leadership roles, that they become well-rounded. And I've also observed that it's not just a soft function, it's a hard function now. And the new sales leaders are actually moving into the space, and also see new young business grads from business schools wanting that GM role. And that's fascinating to see. And you've onboarded a lot of these. So we have a lot of questions actually for your session. I'm positively surprised by this. So let's get in.
I'm so glad.
Okay. First of all, a shout out from Manoj Bhatia. He remembers the time, he's not Verizon, I think, if I'm not mistaken. He remembers the time you did the Cisco Alliance work. So congratulations on that.
Hi.
Coming together. And there are two questions that are similar, one from Bhaskar and the other one from, I think the other one is from Anshuman. The idea here is, I'll say the question first and then you can interpret it. Question to Jyoti, you talked about shared accountability between ecosystem and business teams for outcomes. How did you achieve this? And what are the challenges you faced? That was Bhaskar's question, but a related one that I saw from Anshuman was, how do you develop trust between the partner and the sales team, which is kind of similar vein.
Okay, so yes, so thanks for that question. This will help me voice out what I went through over the last 5 years, and to whoever is listening, what it took. So yeah, you're right. So like I said, we were a very practice-driven organization, right? And our partnerships were a part of the practice function, right? And different partnerships were, housed in different practices. Sometimes there were partners who cut across multiple practices, etc. So the challenge that we had was, how do we, because the partnership as a function is a much broader function. It drives broader go-to-market, broader strategy. It needs to do that, right? At the same time, the businesses, the direct businesses, they build competency, they build the solutions, they take it to market, they are seeing it in opportunities and so far. So there is clearly for an SI, it's a very unique situation where the responsibility needs to be jointly held. And this function was set up under the chief operating officer. I'm talking about 6 years ago at the time, and all the practices were also under the same leader. So what we had was a complete joint metrics and joint responsibility of achieving the business numbers. And when I talked about stewardship, where it is coming from, because as an ecosystem leader, trying to drive so many partnerships across so many practices, I realized that the biggest thing we needed was stewardship, working with these different business stakeholders, right? So the challenges of working in that kind of a model are typical. There's a lot of heavy lifting. It's all about influence and persuasion, right? And it's all about providing insights and adding value and helping convince the larger organization to orchestrate and move in a certain direction. So sometimes individual practices may not see something else that we are able to see, right? But how do you convince them to move in a particular direction? So the challenges are in really orchestrating the effort so that as a company, you can become super successful. And so a lot of time and effort is spent in building trust and the credibility with the business stakeholders. And I think that remains true. Even if you change the structure, ultimately your multiple teams going together to the market, to the customer, and you have to have stewardship to be successful in that. And there was a second question: how do you build trust between the two salespeople, two sales teams? I'm assuming this is between the partner sales team and the SI sales team like ours. See, you can take an account level approach where the two teams get together, try to figure out what opportunities and how do they work together. That's one way of doing it. But to build real trust between the organizations and the sales organization, there needs to be a broader vision of what the two companies are trying to do and how this particular sales interaction or sales connects are going to be relevant to that broader vision. We have seen that the moment a sales team or a salesperson sees that, hey, let me take Virtua Desk as an example, right? Virtua Desk is a joint solution that we have built. We built it with Microsoft, Citrix, Dell, HP, Cisco, all of that. But let's say we want to take it to market. Now, if the salesperson from Microsoft or the salesperson from Cisco, whoever, sees that there's a huge offering which has been very successful in the market and all the companies are focused on taking it to the customers, then they will be that much more open. There is a lot more trust than just two individuals trying to talk to each other. So there has to be a broader alignment of plan and strategy of why your sales teams are connecting. Second, it has to be a multi-level relationship between the two sales organizations. So starting from sponsorship at the global sales leader to the necessary regional leader. So we have put in place a mechanism and a structure where we want to look at all the key partnerships. Who are the people at every level? And are we connected with them? Do we have trust? Do we have it's an ongoing journey. I don't think we are perfect there yet, but at least we know that's where we want to get to. So I think one important part is building trust in that way. And lastly, it all boils down to your actions. Right? So when we are engaging together, if you're committed together, then you have to be transparent. And even if you're not committing together, you cannot work together. It's equally important to be as transparent and say, hey, I'm not able to work with you in this account. So I think your actions, your behavior will ultimately count, but setting a direction must come from a larger, broader vision.
Yeah, there are so many questions here. I just want to acknowledge them, but we'll respond back in lieu of time via a quick update, Chip. So Jyoti, if you can respond offline, that will be great. I'll just acknowledge the questions. Mark Horner is asking what type of partnering model you look forward to when you implement currently non-existent market or an emerging market. And I think we had a similar question from somebody else who's new in the AI space and they want to partner with Wipro. How should they go about doing it? So I think both are in the same vein. And there's another fantastic one which asks, what's the difference between your best alliance and the worst alliance?
Okay, so let me take the first question first. So how do we partner in new areas or areas that currently don't exist? So first of all, I want to say this: we encourage all partners, all companies, even if they're not our current partners, to reach out to us. For us, like I said, this is a source of market knowledge for us. And a lot of our partnerships, in fact, most of our partnerships started really small, right? Even today, like I said, in the whole ecosystem, we have many companies which are small boutique firms, which are addressing white spaces, but they have become important partners for us because they have a strategic impact. They are playing a role in the areas that we have called out as our vision in terms of focus areas, whether it is in cloud and cybersecurity. So as long as it's aligned to our strategy and focus areas, we are encouraging partners to reach out to us. The way it usually happens that I have seen is that we start small. We start with a few customer engagements. We make a success of those customer engagements. We work closely with the teams on the ground, whether it is the practice teams and the sales teams and the alliance teams, and we see what is how customers are seeing, and we learn how to sell it and how to take it to market. We can understand how it makes an impact, right? And then build on it. And one shortcut method, once you have initial few successes, then is to invest. If a partner, there are some partners who have done a very smart thing by investing in creating a practice for us. So they have invested resources and they said, okay, you build a practice around this area. We will, co-invest with you. So that's one shortcut method. Another one is many partners have leveraged our love for 360-degree partnerships, right? So where they have involved us in their product engineering journey. They have involved us in their product design, development, and testing journey. And what that does is, it's not just about we getting some services, while that is definitely attractive to everybody, but really the core of it is, because our teams get so thick into the technology, they are so comfortable with it that they are automatically taking it to the market. Okay. Right? So it's a very sticky relationship, and then everybody gains out of this. So one advice I have is that explore if it is possible to do a 360. Now I've said a very dangerous thing. I think too many people will be reaching out. I think my business leaders are going to come back and tell me how much can we sell. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, this will be fantastic, Jyoti. I know we are at end of time and there are so many interesting questions. We'll follow up with the attendees. We actually do a roundup after this, where the video and the session and the Q&A we did and the polls we did. I'll be sure to add a few questions, and if you can respond offline, that'll be great.
Sure.
Let me thank you. This was just a chock full of great advice and inspiration for all of us. Thank you for gracing this forum. I look forward to working with you a lot more. With that, Chip.
Thanks for your support, and it's an honor for us to be here. And it was simply, lovely, talking and sharing views. Thank you so much for this.